Welcome to the Healthy Heart Show, where we pull back the curtain on conventional medicine and dive into the root causes of cardiovascular health. If you are concerned about high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart attacks, stroke, or atrial fibrillation, this is the place for you. We will provide natural heart information that will help you prevent, treat, and reverse any ailment, leaving pills and procedures out of the picture. Here are your guides to holistic heart health, board-certified cardiologist and Amazon best-selling author, Dr. Jack Wolfson, and natural heart doctor, naturopathic physician, Dr. Lauren Latanza.
All right, everyone, Dr. Jack Wolfson here, natural heart doctor. This is another episode of the Healthy Heart Show, and I've got Adriel Zahniser here. Adriel, welcome to the Healthy Heart Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, so this is how we connected, right? So I did a TikTok video about 5 things I would never say as a cardiologist, and you reposted that video or kind of like made commentary, what they call, what is that, like a duet, or is that what it was?
Yeah, I don't know that it's just a side-by-side. People don't like these things, by the way. Figured that.
Yes. Well, again, and I certainly liked what you did for me because, again, you were kind of thumbs up on my stuff. And again, 5 things that we talked about. We'll break down what those 5 things were. We'll talk about another 5 things, as well. But in you sharing my commentary, which was controversial, and we'll talk about what those things were. Talk about controversy, like what happened to you on TikTok and social media and maybe emails and people contacting you. What happened after you, shared that video?
Oh, yeah. Well, first off, the reason I shared it, I'm a self-proclaimed wellness hacker. So I like to find easy ways that we can hack our health and, just make better choices for wellness. And I came across your video. I think it was on Instagram. So it probably, flooded over from TikTok to Instagram. And then I shared it on Facebook because these 5 things are definitely out of the box thinking. And I am a dietitian, but my thinking when it comes to health and wellness is definitely out of the box as well. So we connected on our thoughts there. So I just did a quick little mock-up and shared it out. And this morning, over 18 million views on that one little 90-second reel. And, there's over 256,000 comments. And those comments were not all positive because when you do talk about things that that have been ingrained into us since we're 5 years old in elementary school, it's really hard to accept. And there was some bashing that happened. I think more than anything is people questioned you, and they said, so anybody can put a stethoscope on and claim to be a doctor. So what I want to ask you actually is, tell us about your background as a doctor, because that's what people really didn't like. They were like, it's 90 seconds, who is this guy? And all I can say is Dr. Jack Wolfson, you got to look him up. So can you just explain that one more time about your background as a doctor?
Yes, no, certainly. And again, you got the Constitution is hanging on the wall, behind you. And this is all about freedom of speech, and it's about getting the information out there. And as you know, as a conventionally trained dietitian and me as a conventionally trained cardiologist, that, there's a certain, dogma, that they teach. And again, if you don't follow that and you violate, their rules, then, again, they kind of tend to slap us down for it. And they can slap you down as a dietitian and saying, okay, well, you're not talking about what we taught you in the food pyramid and the whole thing. And then me as a conventionally trained cardiologist, if you're condemning pharmaceuticals, if you're condemning procedures, they come after you. But I'm a conventionally trained cardiologist, 10 years of medical training, and I've been on the job for over 20 years as a board certified cardiologist. 10 of those years I was hospital based. Again, I'm working in the hospitals, angiograms, pacemakers, echocardiograms, stress tests, surgeries, all those different things that we do. But you know what, Adriel, it really bothers me when people are like, who are you? And are you a real doctor? It's like, go look it up. Go on my website. Like, why are you so lazy that you cannot go look up my credentials? People can question you, Adriel. Well, what's your certifications? And you're like, well, go to my website. Everybody else knows how to search on Google and other search platforms. Why are you so lazy that you cannot go look it up? You're going to ask this on TikTok. There's, as you said, there's hundreds of thousands of comments. I may not get back to your comment. So maybe if you want to know, instead of just passing judgment, go take 5 seconds to search my name or your name to, see our credentials, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I did before I shared your post. I was like, who is this guy? And I found a natural heart doctor. And I mean, you have so many websites, even in combination with your wife, who's doctor of chiropractic. Is that correct? Yeah. I mean, there's so much information out there. And so I felt, confident in sharing those 5 tips. They're honestly 5 things that I follow as well personally. So I knew, whatever's thrown our way is people with lack of knowledge, really. It's really hard to accept something new when you have no knowledge base of it, being true. And I actually worked as a nutrition educator for about 6 years in schools, teaching the food guide pyramid, my plate, all of those kinds of things. And it was tough, 3 cups of milk a day and 10 to 12 servings of grain. But we're out of that now, and we all learn and we all evolve. So I'm really happy to be speaking with you and learning your knowledge. I wanted to touch on some of those 5 things that you talked about, if that's cool, because as we know, there were a little controversy. For example, 5 things you would never tell your patients as a cardiologist. Number 1, avoid eggs. And you use the word propaganda. So what do you have to say about that when it comes to eggs? Personally, I eat them probably every day.
Eggs are a cocoon for a baby chicken. It contains everything that a chicken needs to come to life. All the vitamins, all the minerals, all the proteins, all the fats. Everything that's essential is inside of there. So why would we think that we should not eat that? Again, all animals in the wild, when they come across somebody else's eggs, they'll eat those eggs. If you take take your dog and you feed your dog, eggs, especially if they're trained that way. And again, they're not eating, kibbles and bits and some kind of poison that makes dogs, sick. If we feed the dogs the eggs, the results are absolutely spectacular. So actually, eggs, it turns out, raises HDL, which is commonly thought of as the good cholesterol. And what it does to LDL, which is mislabeled and propaganda-wise, again, to call that the bad cholesterol. That's just pure pharmaceutical speak. But what we do with LDLs when you eat eggs is that actually it takes the LDLs from the small dents and makes them large, fluffy. And that's the benefit there. Eggs also lower triglycerides. Eggs are fantastic for inflammation, oxidative stress, because you're giving your body all the nutrients, that it needs. But again, cardiologists are not trained in nutrition. They're trained in pharmaceuticals and procedures. They know nothing about eggs. The cholesterol from eggs means nothing as far as the cholesterol in our body. But again, cholesterol is very important, which is why eggs contain cholesterol, because that's how a chicken comes to life, by eating the cholesterol. Circling back, real quick to the food pyramid, right? And the food pyramid, when you look at that and you see that the grain category that contains oatmeal and other toxins, the grain category is bigger than the vegetable category. Like, what planet of delusion are these people coming from? The obvious influence of industry and big box, Kellogg's, Nabisco, Quaker Oats, big agriculture, its influence in the creating of the food pyramid. It's diabolical, right? On how they did that to people for the last 50 years, and think about all the death and destruction from that.
Yeah. And that was actually, I think your number 3 one was to eat oatmeal, which is, there was probably 100,000 comments on that. I mean, people put up their dukes when you say, oatmeal maybe isn't the best idea for a breakfast.
Oatmeal, it's humans never ate oats. Humans are hunter-gatherers. They hunted animal foods and seafood, and they gathered things like eggs, avocados, coconuts, vegetables, fruits, other nuts and seeds. They never gathered oatmeal, and they never tainted it and boiled it and processed it and put it into a box. Like, they never ate that. It's just pure industry propaganda from the Quaker Oats Corporation. You know, Adriel, I tell this story about a friend of mine from growing up. His father actually worked for Quaker Oats. He retired at the age of 47. I'm 52, which means I would have retired 5 years ago if I was this guy. He never had to work a day in his life because he made so much money and all the stock and stuff like that at Quaker Oats. And then again, how Quaker Oats and other big box industry in bed with the government and their guidelines that is all written by industry. Where would people possibly think that they should be eating oatmeal? And I love to say this too, Adriel, that if you want all the fiber and all the benefits, allegedly, the alleged benefits from eating oatmeal, just eat the box, because the cardboard box actually has no caloric value to it whatsoever, but it binds. You know, if you want to eat oatmeal and lower your cholesterol, well, the box would actually have a lot of fiber and bind up a lot of the cholesterol that is so critical that your body wants to reabsorb, to reutilize, because of all the energy needed to create the cholesterol and how beneficial it is. It wants to reabsorb all those bile acids if you want to prevent the body from reabsorbing all those nutrients and therefore become deficient in those nutrients and a lot of fat soluble vitamins. Just eat the box, because it'll bind up those things as well.
There you go. That's another, that's your number one of number 5 for your new pieces of advice. Just eat the box if you're going to eat something that's packaged.
But
Perfect.
You saw, I mean, again, all that blowback as well. How, right? It's like insulting a child or insulting someone's religion when you condemn oatmeal. It's like, oh no, I've been eating this, for the last 40 years, and it's just garbage, and it's all just based on a pyramid of lies, if you will.
Yeah, and many of them say, well, but I love oatmeal. Well, okay. So are we working to better our health, or are we not? And, or they'll say, well, my cardiologist told me to eat oatmeal. This is what they instructed me to do because I have high cholesterol. So, it's hard to combat it as a dietitian, as even a doctor, that doesn't really follow what the guidelines are that's put out by the board. When doctors are still in this present day sending that piece of advice to their patients, of course, they're not going to listen to somebody on Facebook that's, for 90 seconds telling them it's different. And that's where research comes into play. That's when they look up who you are and what you've done, because as a doctor, they don't get training in nutrition. How much nutrition training do you feel you got when you were going through school?
Yeah, this is well documented. Even the Harvard Medical School, they've done studies. And again, the doctors coming out of Harvard Medical School get very, very, very little, on the order of hours, regarding, nutrition. Then, of course, it's all just based on the nutrition propaganda that they would give you. It's not on common sense hunter-gatherer nutrition that anthropologists, paleontologists, explorers have enjoyed. Again, I love watching those TV shows like Alone and Naked and Afraid and Survivor, because you're seeing how people lived in the environment like our ancestors did since the dawn of human existence. And they're not getting bowls of oatmeal, and they're not getting bags of walnuts and pecans, right? They're hunter-gatherers. And if you don't learn how to hunt and gather quickly, free-range grass-fed meats, wild seafood, eggs, avocados, coconuts, vegetables, fruits, you're going to die. You're going to die very quick. And insects, for that matter. Those people, really ate a lot of insects as well, which is totally not in the food pyramid and totally not what people are promoting these days, but just what our ancestors did. And it's just common sense approach that mainstream medical, mainstream dietetics, if you will, that they just totally missed. But that's the beauty, again, of the Constitution behind you, free speech. Hey, we're going to get this information out there. We're going to talk about common sense. We're going to talk about also what's in the medical literature. And again, the strategies that you and I are promoting are right out of the medical literature.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'll breeze through those last 5, and then I think you might have 5 more pieces of advice that you might want to share with the world. So the original reel, we talked about avoiding eggs. We've already touched on that. To stop drinking coffee, you would never tell a patient as a cardiologist to stop drinking coffee. People weren't too sure about that either. And personally, I drink coffee every day. A lot of what I promote is how you can make your coffee work for you. It can be a very functional liquid. It can be very supportive and nutritional, depending on where the coffee beans are coming from, how they can affect your health in a positive way. And then if you're not a black coffee drinker, if you feel that you need to add something to it in terms of cream or something along those lines, choosing the right option for that. Personally, I put butter in my coffee. It's just cream and maybe it's salt, but those are the only two ingredients that the butter would be made from. So coffee, I feel, is like an amazing liquid gold.
The Healthy Heart Show will be right back after we take this quick break to hear from our sponsor. Would you like to drink great tasting coffee that's also good for your heart health? Cardiology Coffee is your answer. This 5-star rated coffee is delicious. It's a gourmet coffee that begins with whole organic beans, hand-selected and carefully roasted. It's tested and certified to be free of pesticides, mold, and other toxins. Cardiology Coffee is great for your heart, and you're going to love how it tastes. Order now online at cardiologycoffee.com. Now back to the Healthy Heart Show.
And I actually have your copy here, which I love this mug. I love a big fat mug. So I got this in the mail just as like a thank you to say, hey, what's up? And your coffee is awesome too. It's really smooth, almost to where you don't even need to add cream if you're usually a creamy coffee drinker. The flavor of it's really great. So anything you wanted to add about coffee?
Well, I mean, thank you, for the promotion of Cardiology Coffee. Now, also, actually, if you look at the bottom of that mug, you can see the symbol there. It says made in the USA. So I sourced out the mugs that were going to have, they don't leach contaminants. So again, like those are third-party tested for, cadmium, lead, and other contaminants in, mugs that come from China and stuff like that. So that was very important to me to make sure that I was drinking out of something that was healthy and I would promote it. Now, they're much more expensive to buy those mugs, but again, I didn't care because I believe we should invest in our health. And I know that you agree, with that. I also want to make a comment too, is that you mentioned butter, and the only thing inside of butter is cream and salt. So that really identifies people. How many people know that butter comes from cream? And again, the more you churn, the cream, and that's how you make butter. How many people know that, even as they're using butter, right? It's probably 1 out of 100 people know that butter comes from cream. And that's just really just knowing your food and where your food comes from and how people have lost that in their lives. So again, it's kind of like knowing where your coffee comes from. Is your coffee organic or is it pesticide coffee? Does your coffee contain mold mycotoxins or does it not contain mold mycotoxins and other contaminants? And that's what we did when we created Cardiology Coffee. But I created it because I wanted people to understand the nutritional value of coffee. As I looked through the medical literature and saw all the things that show that there's data that coffee drinkers live longer and they have less cancer, they have less brain disease. Coffee drinkers have less heart attacks. Women who drink coffee after a heart attack have a lower risk of dying over many years. Coffee drinkers have less atrial fibrillation, better blood pressure. So as you look at the literature, and that's on garbage coffee, right? That's on people who drink, McDonald's and Starbucks, let alone if you're drinking the good stuff. Could coffee be medicine? Could it be better than medicine, of course? And the answer is yes, and that's why I talked about it. But you're right, it's very controversial because cardiologists, again, who know nothing about the literature regarding coffee, they just blanketly tell people to drink coffee. Now, they go to drink coffee, they go to Starbucks, they do all the things that cardiologists do, but they tell you not to drink it, so they make you miserable. They make you void in all of these nutrients and all the benefits of coffee, again, while they have no understanding of the benefits. And that's where, people like you and I come in and we talk about, hey, let's talk about this study. Let's talk about the obvious, again, the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that are inside of coffee and why it's a healthy choice compared to whatever else that they would be telling us to drink, some kind of artificial, crap. They would tell us probably to drink Diet Coke as opposed to, organic coffee.
That does happen. If you need a caffeine kick, just go for Diet Coke. I was actually in the store the other day looking at cream options. just to have a heavy cream. And even the organic heavy creams have all kinds of binders and gums and preservatives and things like that. And that's why I'm like, just go for the butter. You can find butter anywhere, even cultured butter that is just cream and it's just salt, and just put a couple chunks of it in your coffee. And it's like people's minds explode because they can't associate the two. Butter goes on bread, but butter's made from cream. It's made from the good stuff. So I appreciated that one.
Now, I know you guys are based in Florida. What's the laws down there regarding raw dairy in the state of Florida?
It can only be sold for pet consumption, I want to say, never for human consumption. No.
All right. So I think we got to organize a campaign, in the state of Florida and bring back raw dairy. I know Congressman Tom Massey out of Kentucky, he's been a big raw dairy advocate. And again, getting rid of raw dairy, again, it's all propaganda. Our ancestors drank raw dairy. Of course, little babies are breastfed on raw milk, from mama, and they're not getting sick. I think, again, when you take healthy animals and you get raw dairy from them, that's the penultimate solution. Again, it's not Paleolithic food. Our ancestors did not go after other animals and milk them and make cream and butter and yogurt. But I think that there's definitely nutritional value in those things. Most people tolerate raw dairy very well. And it's, clearly, in doing that, it's, compared to the conventional dairy, the pasteurized, homogenized, all the hormones that are injected in the animals, not only are they fed GMO foods and therefore taking all the toxins, but also the grain that the animals are fed is all moldy as well. And that's a huge problem in the animal industry, is that the mold contaminated grains that they're eating, it gets into the flesh of the animal and then ultimately into us. And it's a catastrophic problem. So,
yeah. Yeah. And there, I would encourage people to just look up local Facebook groups. I mean, there's a lot of our local community and they all ask, where do we buy, the raw dairy? Like, we know the 3 stores in our area where you can go to buy it for your pet. You never say it's for yourself, but it's there, and they make butter out of it. They have cream. That's about it. Some of them might make cheese, but you're just getting raw dairy. And it's so much better. Just the flavor profile of it is so much more intense than just like a bottled 2% milk, of conventional. Ugh.
All the vitamins, all the minerals, all the fats, all the proteins, it's all inside of there. And again, the literature supports the use of that. But again, you get big industry and corporations, whether it's Horizon or Aurora, some of these big conglomerates that just want to control the industry. They don't want you drinking the good stuff. They want you to drink the stuff that sits on the shelf, for 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. And they just control the politicians who make the laws. So we have to go to the people. We have to have the people complain. We have the people talk to their local Congress people and their local, senators and their governors, and tell people, hey, raw dairy is actually healthy for the populace. And we need to make them understand it's actually healthy for them and for their families. So Congressman Tom Massey, he knew that, again, it was important for him, for his wife, for his children, in order to, eat and consume these type of foods. And therefore he, again, got into a position of power and tries to change the legislation. And I think, again, if we can make the politicians, who are humans like the rest of us, at least some of the good ones, if we can make those humans understand the benefits for themselves, for the family, for the people, in general, and how we reduce healthcare expenditure and we reduce the sickness of what's going on, that's where it starts. Let's take it to the streets.
Absolutely. Love it. All right, we're going to finish off these 5, and then I'm just going to have you run through 5 new ones, and we're going to leave it at that. We're going to let people squirm, and then hopefully we can do some follow-up in the future to kind of touch base and expand on those. So just as a reflection, 5 things you would never tell your patients as a cardiologist is to avoid eggs, stop drinking coffee, eat oatmeal, go low fat. That's a big one for me because I did about 10 years of low fat eating and had all the issues that I'm still trying to fix. And that was my 10 years as a dietitian, unfortunately. And then 5 is to see a traditional doctor who's not looking for the root cause. Of course, you want to look for the root cause. That's that's how you cure things. That's how you get back your health and regain wellness. So those are your 5. What are you going to leave us with for 5 additional items that you would never tell your patient as a cardiologist?
Well, one, as a cardiologist, I would never tell people to go vegan. Vegan is a total deprivation diet, starvation diet. It takes you into the low-fat arena, which is highly problematic for your brain and your entire body. We need those essential fatty acids. Vegan is totally contrary to human existence, right? Humans were hunter-gatherers. Again, they hunted and they gathered, and hunt, comes before gather. So they hunt and gather. You can look at the explorers, look at the paleontologists, anthropologists, read the work of Weston A. Price, and again, you can look at modern-day TV shows where, again, these are hunter-gatherers. If you're a vegan and you wind up alone or naked and afraid, you're going to switch over, or you're going to tap out of the show, or you're going to die. The vegans do not, no one's giving you bags of oatmeal and walnuts and chia seeds, flax seeds. You can't get omega-3, DHA, EPA, which again, those come from eating seafood. Those people live the longest, they live the best brain health, stuff like that. So again, going vegan is horrible advice from a cardiologist. I would never, ever, ever say it. Number 2, I would never tell people to avoid the sun. The sun is the source of life. The sun provides vitamin D, helps to make nitric oxide, helps to increase melatonin. The sun, again, our skin is a solar panel. It's built to be in the sun. And if any idiot tries to tell you to avoid the sunshine, again, avoid those people, because they have no idea what they're doing, what they're talking about. But it all works together, right? Inside of eat well, live well, think well. Well, inside of live well is the sunshine. So when you eat the right foods, live the right lifestyle, think the right thoughts, the sun is beneficial. When I used to go on vacation out of Chicago down to your neck of the woods into Florida and get sunburnt, that was bad. Sunshine, good. Sunburn, bad. Number 3, as a cardiologist, I would never tell people to take statin drugs. Statin drugs inhibit the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, and we need that enzyme. That's why we're built with that. That's why other mammals are built with that enzyme. And when you inhibit it, you're going to ask for trouble, because again, you don't make CoQ10, you don't make heme A, all these things that are necessary for mitochondrial function. You don't make cholesterol, which is necessary for life. And ultimately, then, if you're not making cholesterol, how do you make vitamin D, and how do you make your hormones? So there's many problems when you take a statin drug. It's not addressing the cause. It does lower numbers down, but you don't care about lowering your numbers down. You want to know, does taking a statin drug make me live longer, live better? And the answer in most cases is no. And then also, study from 2017, people aged 65 and older, primary prevention, more people died in the statin drug group. So statins are pure propaganda, and it's the number 1 selling class of pharmaceuticals of all time. Lipitor is the number 1 revenue generating drug of all time, and it's a total sham. And unfortunately, people are victim to that. Number 4, I never tell people to take aspirin. Again, check with your doctor. I'm not telling you to stop pharmaceuticals. Just check with your doctor. Freedom of speech, ask questions, do your own research, get on the internet, learn. It's all right there. Number 5, I would never tell people to get a CT scan looking for coronary artery disease. CT scans are radiation. Radiation causes heart disease, causes cancer, causes brain disease. So why would I recommend you get a CT scan for prevention? Let's just assume you've got coronary artery disease. What are we going to do about it? Eat well, live well, think well. Test, don't guess. Evidence-based supplements, biohacking strategies. That's the path to the 100-year heart.
Love it. Those are awesome. And just let it rip. We'll see what happens from those 5. I can already see the comments going wild.
Well, I think also too, Adriel, this is a time of, telling the truth. And again, some people may not like the truth, and they may try and suppress the truth, but share this information with your family, share this information with your friends. That's how things are going to change. If you're someone who's just sitting back and you're afraid to make commentary and you're afraid to share and afraid what other people are going to think, you're ruining it. You're ruining the planet. You're ruining it for the children, for the animals, for the humans. Now is a time to exercise that God-given right of freedom of speech, speak your truth, and that's how we're going to do it. So, Adriel, I appreciate you so much for speaking the truth, getting the information out there, helping me get my message out there. And again, you're just doing some fantastic stuff on your social media channels. So everybody out there, make sure that you connect with Adriel, watch what she's doing, because she's just one of the good people out there promoting health and wellness. And together we're gonna win. That's all there is to it.
Yep, I agree. Thank you so much. It was really great to speak with you. Love learning.
Thank you so much. Another episode of the Healthy Heart Show, everyone. We'll see you next time.
That does it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Healthy Heart Show. Please help us get the word out by liking and subscribing to our podcast and our Facebook page, Natural Heart Doctor. Please show support for our podcast sponsor, Cardiology Coffee, your resource for organic, antioxidant-rich, mold and pesticide-free coffee shipped straight to your door. Learn more by adding @Cardiology Coffee on Instagram and visiting cardiologycoffee.com. This podcast provides materials for information and educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. We encourage you to contact your physician for any of the health issues discussed here.